Can you tell me about the history of North Bend Plantation?
I can. North Bend was built in 1801, and it was built for Sarah Harrison, who's the sister of the 9th President of the United States, William Henry Harrison. And that's my husband George's great-great aunt and uncle. So most of the china and the silver and the furniture that's in this house is original to the house or to the family. And the house went out of the family in 1843, and Mr. Wilcox bought it, and he kept it, and he doubled it in size in 1853. And in 1864 there were 30,000 Union troops here, and he was frightened, so he left. And when he left, General Sheridan moved in and used it as his headquarters. And the desk that you saw up in your room has the labels, the original labels on it, and that was the desk that General Sheridan used when he occupied the house. Let's see, Mr. Wilcox left the house in 1864, and he never came back. And it was sold in 1865, and Mr. Hewitt bought it. And in 1916, my husband's grandfather Copeland came from Scotland, and he bought the 1,250 acres of land and the 2 houses and all the outbuildings at that time. And William Henry Harrison, the 9th President, owned the land that as you go out and to the right, all the woodland and the open fields there belonged to William Henry Harrison, and we have that deed, so that makes it kind of neat, and to know that his sister lived here. Anyway, when my husband's grandfather Copeland bought the place in 1916, there was no inside plumbing, and so he did quite a lot and added the bathrooms. And gosh, I've lost my train of thought too. I have to ask me another question. Oh, I know. I know what I was going to tell you. When Granddaddy Copeland bought the house in 1916, he came with his wife and 2 children, 2 boys. And one of the boys grew up and married a Ruffin of Evelynton Plantation. And her maternal grandmother was Jane Carey Harrison of Berkeley. And so that brought the china and the silver and all the family pieces that started out in North Bend back in the early 1800s. With that marriage came a lot of it came back. So.
She was a descendant of Edmund Ruffin?
My mother-in-law, yes. Her name was Mary Harrison Ruffin. And Edmund Ruffin was her great-grandfather. And Edmund Ruffin is the one that fired the first shot in the Civil War for the South at Fort Sumter. And her mother was Jane Carey Harrison. So it's got quite a family line there.
What's it like being surrounded by so much history in your home?
Oh, it's wonderful. I love it. It's wonderful. We started doing bed and breakfast 29 years ago. And it's just like the good Lord sends all these people that we would never have the opportunity to meet. And so we've met people from all over the whole world. And people are fascinated that we have the original china and silver. We serve you with that. And we take you through all of the house. And it's just neat being surrounded by all this history.
Do most people who come here, are they familiar with the history of the plantation?
Most of them are. We have a website, and we're in 4-star photos books and AAA. And the biggest, I guess, the biggest reason that people come here is for the history and to be in a house that is so original with its history and also with its furnishings. But most people come here, a lot of times they come to research their own history. We had a man from California one time, and it was in the evening, and he came into the kitchen. He was talking to George, and he said, "I promised my mother that I would come to Virginia and trace my ancestry and look up my ancestors before she died." And he was probably about 65. And so he said, "I brought all my charts and everything to look up my family line." So George asked him what line was he tracing, and he said the Harrison family line. And George said, "Well, why don't you go get your charts?" Well, when he went to the car to get his stuff, George went over in the corner and he got the Harrison family chart that goes way, way, way back, and it's so big it covers the whole pool table. And so we spread it out on the pool table, and when the man came back in, we showed it to him and we asked him to see if he could find his ancestor there. And he did. In 1735, Isabella Ritchie married a Harrison, so that connected him, and he actually found his ancestor on our lineage thing, which was really neat. And he was so happy. I don't think I've ever seen anybody as happy as that. I mean, he was ecstatic. And the reason I later found out was he was Mormon, and he believed by discovering the names of his ancestors that he had saved their souls. So the next year he came, we had a Harrison family reunion. We had a pig roast, and we invited all the Harrison family clan, and that was great fun.
Your husband traces his lineage far back beyond the Harrisons, though, correct?
Yes. Well, no, it is through the Harrison line through his maternal grandmother, Jane Carey Harrison. So he's kin through the Harrison line to all the people. So
who is he kin to?
He's kin to Charlemagne, is one of his so many great-grandfathers. The First Lord of Windsor in England is one of his great-grandfathers. He's kin to, mostly it lists his grandfathers and the 37th grandfather or 25th or whatever. And when you look through history and you just read the lineage of the people that he's kin to, it's absolutely amazing. But that is connected with the family lineage of Berkeley.
Is there a lot of pride in having a lineage like that?
When you're young, you don't pay any attention to it. It's fascinating to have a traceable ancestry, and I think most people could trace their ancestry, so I was told, until you get to about 1,050, and unless you were significant in the Book of the Dead of England, you really can't trace your ancestry back further than that. And so George's ancestors are in the Book of the Dead of England, and on the wall in the dining room there's the lineage in there from my family, the Youngs, and there were 2 people that were knighted, which was kind of fun. But yes, I think it's neat to know all of that. And when you think about it, what I like to do is, like, if you go in the living room and you're just sitting in there by yourself and you think of all the wonderful people that have been in this house, and I think of George's mother, Mary Harrison Ruffin, and it's just mind-boggling to me that George is actually kin to so many, many people that I don't know how they keep up with it. But we did, about every 3rd generation, somebody has to take responsibility for collecting all the names from all the different branches. And I caught up our part, in about 7 years ago. So we're good for the next 3 generations, and then somebody has to go to work and do something. But yeah, it's kind of neat. That was a long-winded answer.
Oh, that's okay.